So I've spoken to this group a couple times, and I feel like in the past I've been able to say that I don't know, it's just been a lot more clear as to like where things are going to be headed, but maybe that was naive even then. Now I think it's like the fact that everything's so uncertain is just more clear than ever, right? Before, I think I was talking about, how good it is to be doing freelance and building the business and all these things, and that hasn't changed. It's still good to be doing work the way that I've been doing it because I've been focused on remote work for since I started Viz Simply. So I guess background real quick, and if I have to break to correct my dog, sorry, that is the reality that we're in. Walk away. All right. Yeah, so I left I left consulting in San Francisco to like travel the world and be a digital nomad and take my skills abroad. I went from San Francisco where, rent was very, very expensive, um, to Australia where it was also very expensive, but then I went to Bali where it wasn't so expensive, and then Colombia and all over. Like I've worked for I don't think I've said this before, but I remember it was in Colombia where my rent was like rent and office space was like $400, and I was making 15,000 a month working for IBM. So like that was really cool. Income arbitrage or like cost of living arbitrage is something to look for, where you can make a good salary and reduce your income simply because things are cheaper. So that was something that I tried to capitalize on um, with remote work, and I still try to capitalize on that. Chile is not the most, sorry, Chile is not the cheapest place in Latin America, but it's one of the more civilized, one of the more developed countries. So that serves me well in terms of stability, and it lands almost on the New York time zone, which is really good for my clientele. When I was in Colombia, I had a lot of hassle working with Australia in the middle of the night. I would work from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. And I'd be the only one in the co-working space or my apartment, of course. And I was super lonely, but it was a good lesson. Um, and once COVID hit, it was pretty, I mean, obviously very uncertain. Thankfully, I had a client and still have that client who's diversified in um, meaning that like they had some customers that they served who were negatively impacted by COVID and some who were very positively impacted. And I've got a broad background of skills that allowed me to stay relevant for that client. So my background is like database development, data pipeline development. If you've heard ETL or ELT now, that's in my wheelhouse, as well as programming, like developing applications, specifically charts, and then also Tableau dashboard development and a deep knowledge of how to communicate information visually, specifically data, and make that engaging for clients. So that broad like domain allowed me to go from a data visualization designer with the client prior to COVID to COVID hitting, and then adapt and become the sort of like consultant or practice area lead for the client. if I hadn't been as flexible, the client might have said, yeah, okay, well, we we will call you back after COVID or whatever. Um, sad story, but true. The product manager I was working for prior to COVID, he got let go like immediately, right? He was really expensive, and he he was just a like not a one-trick pony, but that's like a really harsh way to say it. He did one task for the company, and he wasn't going to be valuable in any other capacity, especially at his rate. So he got let go, and that stinks. I don't think many other people got let go, but I know a lot of friends who have been put on furlough. Like, got a friend working for Disney, and specifically the Disney parks, and they got put on furlough for a long time. Um, but when COVID hit, because I was a remote data visualization freelancer, um, I got more demand for my services than ever before. Like, I was thinking of like building an agency. It was unreal. Like, the demand that came my way was just way too much for me to handle. I made more this year than I've made any year in the past, maybe of my whole career. So that's pretty nuts. And again, super thankful. And I credit it to having like put myself out there, getting like a little website set up, um, thanks in large part to the Upwork platform. That's how I get all my clients. That's how clients find me, and it makes landing jobs super straightforward. Um, it it makes the like collecting cash from clients really straightforward. Whereas outside of the Upwork platform, it is a hassle. It is a huge hassle. You always have to chase down clients, regardless of how nice they might be. Um, so yeah, I'm doing data viz for a client that's distributed, and it's a lot of fun, and I'm really thankful for it. So and also during COVID, like, I'm just a restless type. I made a course because you can do that nowadays. So I made a course and made some more money off of that, and shared some of my knowledge with people who could benefit from that, and learned how to make a course online. I've made a course before, but it was guided by others. So this was nice that it was like fully built and developed by me, and all that. I learned a lot. So yeah, a lot. And I know you probably get, actually, I don't know. I don't know what your speakers are generally like, but I feel like it'd be fun, especially since I think this group is really small. It's not that small. 15 people. It'd be cool, like, if y'all want to just like have more of a conversation, rather than a lecture, because there's a lot of different directions we could go in. Um, does that sound cool? Like,
I have a few questions if you don't mind.
yeah.
Um, how did you get where you're at? What are your credentials? Where'd you start? If you don't mind me
Yeah.
asking, how old are you?
So I graduated in 2011, and back then, I graduated with a degree in logistics, and that degree made me aware of globalization. And that's just that, we basically compete with everyone, and the barriers between like someone competing for a job is they're much lower than we probably give them credit, right? The fact that you might be going for a gig in Texas does not mean that other people are not going for that gig from Brazil, right? So knowing that I was competing with people all over the planet just motivated me in maybe an unhealthy way to go study. and Lifehacker was where you found online courses back in the day. That's not the case anymore. Like edX was much more nascent. Udacity was much more nascent. Coursera, all very like they were just baby. Like MOOC was a very new term. And after I graduated, I was just like, all right, like I gotta learn some stuff, because I didn't know how to program. Like I didn't know any coding. I didn't know any languages. I didn't learn that in school. But I figured I gotta figure that out. So I've just been learning online nonstop, um, more or less since 2011, and just trying to like go down interesting paths. So I went from Atlanta, where I got really good at Excel, believe it or not. Like when I got into a role, I figured out what's going to set me apart in this role. Like, what if I was amazing at it? Um, there's a book called So Good They Can't Ignore You. Um, it's like, if you get so good at something, they can't ignore you. Like your skills speak for themselves, for themselves. I'm not like a charismatic salesperson type of guy. So I needed something else to do the talking for me. So I would just skill up, and then that's demonstrating what I did would speak for itself. And I just continued to do that. So in Atlanta, it was Excel, then it was Access, Microsoft Access, then it was SQL, and then it was VBA. And after Atlanta, I went to San Francisco and I learned JavaScript, and I learned D3, and I learned how to design user interfaces. And then when I left San Francisco to go abroad, I I put myself out there publicly around data visualization. I would compete in competitions. Again, more public notoriety for my skills, but the stuff that I was making originally, like it was not good. I was getting feedback and learning and upskilling slowly. Um, Made a little website, wrote, blogged, learned how to write, learned how to blog, and learned how to get clients freelancing, learned how to teach people things. Um, Learned how to streamline that process, learned how to manage others. Like it's just every little thing builds on itself. So that's how I got where I am. It's just been a lot of iterations and persistence. Yeah. Yep, yep. Any
Uh,
questions
did
about
you
that?
did you have any connections, or you just went on your own?
No, that's a good question. In Atlanta, I was really into meetups, right? Like there was a data science ATL, and I would go to that and not talk because I was not a data scientist at all, but the people who did speak and be like, all right, like what's going on at your company? You're doing some cool stuff. Like let's have coffee. Let me let me let me see if we can talk about something interesting. San Francisco, I led the D3 meetup, not because I was an amazing D3 developer, but because I was so interested in serving the community. And I was like, I'll just go talk to a startup and see if they've got space so that they can host our meetup. And that got me connected to other people. Um, when I was in Australia, I also led a data visualization meetup in Melbourne. Bali, I tried to do the same, but the community there is really small. I spoke. I went to New Zealand and I spoke, and I continue to speak. I'm speaking to y'all. Um, yeah, so absolutely. Like it's so easy to connect with people, and it is hard. It is hard to like find your way in and be useful to someone at a time when they need help. For example, someone came to me and they wrote me a guest blog post. That's great. Like I'm very thankful for the blog post that they wrote, but that requires me to take their blog post and refactor it for my site and give them backlinks and do promotions, and that takes me out of my where my head's at right now. So even though they wrote me a nice blog post and they said like they like what I'm doing. I don't have the space to like get them on my site. But they can do the same for someone else. And then maybe they're successful there and they get their name out there. Like, yeah. So I didn't know anybody in Australia. Nobody. But I just went and tried to talk to people. Bali, same thing. Um, it helps to like have a connection before you go there. Absolutely. If I did it again, I would probably try to do that. I'm in Santiago, Chile, and I do not speak Spanish. Like it's, yeah. But I've got interests, and like you can have like common interests with other people, and those interests are gonna feel good when they bump up against other people. Like this data analytics crew that y'all have. There was a like Center for Supply Chain Management Professionals or some little thing in college, and I was a part of that. And that's cool. So like you definitely want to like get with like minds, and you can find those everywhere as long as like the population's big enough. Like there's gonna be people that are into what you're into. um Absolutely. And that's more true now than like ever, so it's cool. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it does answer it. Also, I was wondering if you know of any upcoming events that we will be able to get connected, because I'm graduating this semester, and I know some other people may be graduating as well. So I was just wondering if you know of any like upcoming events or even people that we can get connected to.
So those that are graduating, like what are you graduating with? Like is there, yeah, what degrees do y'all have? I don't know
So
how to put yourself out there.
mine is computer information systems, but I'm doing a concentration in data analytics. We talk more business side, so business analytics.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, computer information systems is that's a good major nowadays. Um, I like the way I would start is just looking for anyone right now that's got internships, and you probably hear this a lot, but I hadn't seen internships when COVID first hit. Now I'm seeing them come online more. I have no idea how people are doing career fairs nowadays. Um, let's see. And I'm not in the data analytics space right now. I mean, I am, but I'm not. So as far as like events go, I do not know any off the top of my mind, but that's because I'm not looking for them. Um, I would, yeah, I would Google the heck out of like data analytics internships. I would maybe go to like data school or data camp and look at companies that sponsor data analytics courses. Go to Udacity, find companies that are like listed as companies that have contributed their knowledge to data analytics nanodegrees. These companies are looking for people with data analytics skills, computer information systems, like degrees potentially. I mean, the degree gets you sort of like you pass that hurdle, which is great. And from there, it's just like connecting with someone who has the right opportunity, the right opportunity for you. There's probably countless meetups. Like tomorrow, there's a meetup in Nashville that I'm gonna attend, and it's a Tableau user group in Nashville. So if you Google like, let's actually see. I'll show you how I would do this. My screen's probably going to be small on your screen. So let's go, I just go meetup.com, and my dog is like, Tuto. Yes. Okay, so if I go to like literally Texas, I want to go Austin maybe.
Hey, Robert,
Yep.
you're sharing the wrong screen.
Oh, am I sharing the little screen or the meetup screen? Are you saying meetup or stop fucking around?
We're seeing the stop fucking around.
Okay, let me share the other one. Desktop 2. My dog is like making life so hard. Tuto. All right, now are you seeing it? Meetup?
Yes, we can see it now. Thank you.
All right, cool. So Austin, Texas. I'll just search like data analytics. Other good thing about meetups is that a lot of times recruiters are here, and these recruiters are not necessarily data people. So I got data analytics, not Santiago. Austin. Dude, he is losing his mind. I've got a baby or a puppy poodle, or poodle puppy. He's losing his mind. So they even have it, specified by the domain. So like healthcare data analytics, if you're into that. Data analytics networking night. Big data analytics. You can look, let's see, any day. We got showing results for, let me log in. And I want to see if we can look at groups. Oh, this is great. Select traffic lights. Maybe. I didn't get it. Let me see about this. Okay, cool. It does look different when you log in. So if you don't have a Meetup account, go ahead and get a Meetup account and you do data analytics. When you sign up for Meetup, I think it prompts you to say like, what are you into? And then it'll curate a list. So we can look at that, breaking into data. So this is going to be, here's how I would do it. Let's just say, I'm going to say breaking into data, right? There was data for good. That's cool too. Organize, promotable community member. Doesn't look like anyone is an organizer. You often want to try to connect with the organizer of the group. That's helpful. Let's say data for good, ATX, walk away. And there we go, Steven Strauss. So I would, and Kelsey. So I'd be like, connecting with Steven, default profile. This is how I do my stalking. We're gonna do this and go to LinkedIn. Walk away. All right, so we're gonna do Steven Strauss. I don't know, that looks like him. I would probably like, look, so Steven's linked up with Kyle Simpson. I know Kyle Simpson, he's a like guru in the JavaScript world. I'd be like, hey, Steven, I see that you run the Data for Good ATX. It's like this is an area of interest of mine. I'm graduating soon with a degree in blah. Look forward to connecting at the next meetup. And if we go to events here, walk away. Sorry, events, there's no upcoming events. I might say, hey, I see that there are no upcoming events. If you wouldn't mind, I'm happy to organize one for you. And then if he's at all interested in that, cool, you can organize something for him. If he says, like, what I would imagine, like a response you might get from him is like, yeah, I don't really organize this anymore. Reach out to Kelsey. So maybe reach out to Kelsey. I could search for Kelsey. Probably not going to find that one on LinkedIn because it's not as easy to search. But that's just one example. Walk away of how I might like get a connection with someone and turn that into connections with more people and demonstrating. What you want to do is you want to demonstrate the value that you can add, right? If you're not adding any value to someone, you're a drag, then it's not going to be a fruitful relationship, fruitful professional relationship. Walk away. For example, the person who wrote that blog post for me, if I needed someone to write blog posts for me, like if I was in the market for someone to write that content, I would absolutely have her write because she wrote well. I liked her style. But that's just not the direction that I'm taking my business right now. So it doesn't work. If you come to Steven, let's just say, like you come to this meetup and you're pitching value to them that doesn't line up with the direction that they're taking it, then that doesn't work out. And lesson learned, move on to the next thing. So questions about that?
Cool. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Mike also has a question. Mike, if you want to come off mute and share that with us.
Thank you, Karina. You can hear me, right, Robert? Is that correct? Brilliant. Okay, so if you were to sort of teleport yourself back a few years, but bring yourself back to now, you've got all the skills, you've been working for a company for a while. How do you get your first gig, right? So you're in that position where you're like, okay, I want to leave full-time employment and become a freelancer. What are the steps you take, like, the literal steps that you would take to get your first gig?
So the first thing that I would do is think about the funnel. So you've got like the market that you're going for, and that's like the fully addressable market. And I might be saying this incorrectly, but it's like, if I'm going to go for Tableau, let's say I've got Tableau skills, I'm going to go for Tableau people. Okay, there's Tableau people out there. I need to get cash. Like, the bottom line is I need to get cash from those people's pockets into my own so that I can sustain this and continue doing the work. How do I do that? All right, I need to figure out how to get paid is the first step that I took. So I went online and figured out, how do I put do I put a Stripe button on a website to get payment? How does that happen? And I found a way of doing it, and it was a little hacky back then. So shortcut that with going on Upwork, right? The reason I would suggest going on a platform like Upwork is that they take the payment, like getting paid, they take care of that for you, right? So it actually does a lot more than just getting paid. So instead of figuring out how to find people on LinkedIn that want to do work with you, and then figuring out how to get those people on LinkedIn to a website that you make, to click on a button that gets cash into your bank account and worry about payment terms, you can just go on Upwork or a similar platform, and you can set up a profile there. And when you set up a profile there, you can be like, this is what I'm about, and that's it. Like, you've got your little lemonade stand. And once your lemonade stand's set up, then you can go look for, you can literally, let me just show you, because I used to do this like every day. It's not the case anymore. So we're here. I would be like, yeah, so like I've been doing this for a minute. Let's go, like, let's See public if you don't. So the cool thing about this is once you have your little profile set up, and it can be as basic as you want it to be, just like, here's my degree, this is what I'm into, like this, really you want it to be about them. Like you want it to be them focused. So what are you gonna do for the client? Because people on Upwork, they need a solution and they don't wanna waste a bunch of time worrying about like whether or not you can deliver, because it's a risk for them. They're not seeing you face to face necessarily. They're just like, you know, Mike's got a profile out here and Mike says some stuff. Sounds good. How do I trust them? Well, that's where like doing some work with good 5-star ratings comes into play. So what you want to do, if I wanted to go Tableau, be like, all right, I want to find a job. After your profile set up, find a job. Search for jobs in the area that you're interested in. Let me log in. Somehow I logged out. Oh, that's because I was looking at that. All right, so this is the little jobs feed. It's not a Facebook feed. In Upwork, you have a jobs feed. Go find a job. This is what I used to do. I'd be like Tableau dashboard design, because I was interested in doing dashboard design for people, not just Tableau general stuff, dashboard design with Tableau. So let's search. And we got a bunch of cool filters. I'd read through the little thing. We're looking for a Tableau developer. Cool, whatever. Payment verified. They've spent a ton of cash. That's good. It means this client's reputable. This one, not so much. This one, not so much. You don't want to like throw good time at a client who may or may not follow through. So you sort of want to vet the client. It's like, all right, they haven't spent a lot of money, but they have spent more than this other person. So to make it easier for ourselves, we can say, all right, they're looking for entry level, which is nobody right now. I'm surprised. So with that, I'm going to broaden my search, right? I was being too specific. Let me go Tableau. Now we got 3 entry levels, 17 intermediates. I'm getting a phone call that needs to die. All right, so we've got 19 jobs here. Let's see what they're about. Marketing manager, nope. Graphic design with Tableau experience, no. Tableau expert, and nope, nope. Maybe convert data to a visual dashboard for like whatever. The description's weird, but I'll give the client the benefit of the doubt. Cool. Not a lot of catch. So what I'd say is something like submit a proposal, and my proposal would, you know, talk about how I can solve their problem. And I've got a little template for this, solve the problem. I can turn this around quickly for you. If they've got any sort of due date that they're looking to get this done by. And in talking with the client, I would just make it very clear that I am aiming to get I want to make you happy, and it would make me really happy in response if you can give me a 5-star rating. So at this point, it is not about the cash. It is about the 5-star review that you get, that goes to your profile, and that builds credibility with your work, and that credibility will have people coming to your profile. So I'm going to show you notifications. Why? I guess I read them all, but whatever. Earlier today it was 13 people are checking out your profile. This is crazy. Kind of like LinkedIn does with who's checking out your stuff. Upwork will tell you who's snooping on things. So I guess I can go here, and you'll get a little thing like this on Upwork and be like, oh, who's looking at your profile, right? So that's what I would do. Set up a profile, go find some low-hanging fruit to build your credibility, and then as you begin to build your clout, you're going to have like an asset that really starts to pay back. When you try to negotiate for a higher rate, clients are going to be like, oh, I don't know about that. But you're going to have all that experience that is public to share with them. Be like, I know I'm pushing back. I know this is a bit uncomfortable right now, but I can assure you it's worthwhile for you. And like, given the market, the market's appetite for these skills, like my rate is not unfair. So that's, yeah.
So if you go on Upwork now, you can get a pretty good indication as to whether there is work available, right? Just by, I hadn't seen it before. I've never seen this side of Upwork. So essentially, if I was to ask, is there work out there? You could do that by just looking at Upwork to see if people are asking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, you can do whatever. Absolutely. Upwork's not the only not the only platform, but I don't know any better. Like there's Fiverr, but Fiverr is not as specific to the type of like skills y'all have. If we did data analytics, right? Data analytics. Probably a hot search term. So let's do the same thing. Filters. Look at that entry. COVID related. I have gotten COVID related things. Marketing manager, whatever. No. Census and election data. Monthly, weekly. Look at that. So that's pretty straightforward. And if you go to something like this, again, I'm not saying y'all need to be Upwork people, but if you go to something like this, what you're gonna see is oh my gosh, remote content marketing intern, college student, or recent grad preferred. Look, their hourly rate is embarrassing, but if you're at all interested in something like that, then you can you're exactly what they're looking for. So let me just drop that in the chat. Anyway, look at that. So we got, actually, I don't know what a content marketing intern would do, but they've got a whole lot of things. Surveying customers and aggregating information, case studies, science, that's small. Look, it looks like pretty dumb work. I don't know if it's worth anyone's time, but if you're into that, cool. Salesforce data analyst, 30 to 40. Paid remote interview about online freelancing. I guess I could go do this, but whatever. You can absolutely go find out what people are looking for by setting up a profile. And what I was about to say is that you'll start to find out what people are looking for. So earlier I told you how I've just been learning about things that I think are valuable to the market. This is a really good way to survey the market and see what they're looking for. We've already seen Salesforce, we've seen R, we've seen Google Analytics, marketing, manager, marketing. So that's my spiel there. I know it's this is very messy, but the great thing about this is, they're willing to pay you. If you went cold calling on LinkedIn like I used to, those people are not as ready to put cash in your pocket. So it's hard. It's a lot longer from when you go to do the work or make the pitch to getting paid for your effort. And the reason that's important is because the faster, the shorter that cycle from you finding the person, landing the lead to getting the cash in the bank, the less stress that you have around finances, right? With a standard job, you generally do bi-weekly. So as an employee, Like they'll usually just set you up with a check going in your bank account every couple weeks, and that's cool because like you're an employee and you know it's going to be there. With Upwork, I get paid every week, which is even better. But as a freelancer off of Upwork, IBM would pay me 60 days after I did the work. So I'd do the work, I would send them the invoice 30 days after the work was done, and then they would pay me 30 days after that. So I'd go 2 months with no payment from them. It was ridiculous. The bigger the client, the more often that happens. I worked with a startup in San Francisco recently. It was 30 days until they paid me. So a lot of good things I'll say about Upwork. Not perfect, but pretty cool. What other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, y'all gonna ask me all sorts of stuff. I know it's weird times with COVID and college being like let out. Yeah, but thankfully you're in data analytics, which is a sick degree or like domain to be studying for sure. It is where you want to be. I mean, might not be where you want to be, but it's a really good place to be. It's where a lot of people wish they were. So, what other questions y'all got? If y'all want to ask questions later, you can do that too. I'm reachable.
And just as a little timer, we do have just a little over 15 minutes left for the meeting today. So if you guys do have questions, make sure to get them in now. But as Robert just stated, he is also available via LinkedIn. I know I have reached out to him on LinkedIn previously. So he is there for you guys if you don't get any questions in today.
Yeah, if y'all want to do like a longer discussion, that's cool.
You pretty much covered all my questions. I was really curious about how you find clients doing freelancing. I've always wondered that. I figured that would be a lot harder than it is, but Upwork seems like a really cool platform.
It used to be a lot harder. Yeah, it used to be so much harder.
I had another question, and I'm slapping myself on the wrist because I can't remember. Oh yes, I remember actually. Would you call yourself a data analyst or a data scientist?
Neither, because neither. Because I don't consider myself either. I would like if you're on the fence about what to call yourself. I feel like you could go on LinkedIn, search for data analyst, and find out what those job descriptions are. So let's do that. I'm going to give you what I think, but generally data analysts they're generally on a data team or a team that might not have someone who has the interest or the time, like the responsibility to answer questions with the data that the team has access to. A data scientist generally, maybe not generally, but data scientists are meant to, in like the formal way, to create a product. And the product is the suggestion. It's often a recommendation that is recommended algorithmically. So they figure out like the data that has the insight in it. Common insight is like, what is the user going to buy? And from that, you need a training set. So if we have a set of data on users' buying behavior, great. How do we create an algorithm? How do we clean that data so that we can create an algorithm that like accurately-ish predicts what the user is going to buy based on demographics, based on past history. There's a lot of ways that you can create that algorithm, but that would be the role of a data scientist, I think. And within a company, you would have data scientists spending their time enriching the like products or data pipelines that other companies are depending on, or other areas of the company depend on. A data analyst is not doing that necessarily. A data analyst's effort is to help give people answers to questions that they have, but it's way more ad hoc. It's like, you're available to answer my question, to query the database, to make this thing with Excel, to do whatever. Like, I need you to tell me what's going on with the data. You're analyzing it. So let me share my screen again. That's how I would differentiate the two. We could go look for, like, and you could absolutely just Google data scientist versus data analyst. But analyst, and so you can look at how LinkedIn members, Cami, he's on the counter. You can look at how people describe their own job, or you can look for jobs. Those are going to be two different perspectives. So on the looking at jobs piece, you're going to see how recruiters phrase the responsibilities of a data analyst. And then what might be a little bit muddier to decipher is going to be how data analysts describe what they do. So tell stories with data, conduct a variety of ad hoc data analysis, mine data sets, develop reports, maintain actionable stuff like that. And just keep going through. Maybe you just copy paste a bunch of these into a Google Doc and then scan through it to see what patterns emerge. But if we look at data scientists, we got master and own the analytical understanding of customer behavior and business performance. Build models to better understand the value and churn behavior of users, right? So this is where they, like, Tinder just has, the data is the company. Like, how do we recommend people? I think Tinder has an attraction score on users. There was a dating app, I think it might have been like Coffee Bagel and Coffee Meets Bagel, one of those, and they've got a data science blog, and they talked about how they score people and how they recommend people. So yeah, and I'm neither. I guess I consider myself a data visualization designer. I figure out how to create interfaces that expose insights in a way that's engaging. It's largely built on data. So how to create, craft, organize data in a way that is insightful to users. I would consider this data visualization, but it's just a website. So, and that's data. That's like, you could be a website designer or front-end developer. But front-end development is different than user experience and user interaction design. So again, not a direct answer to your question, but hopefully it gives you a little bit more color.
No, that was really good. That covered a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. What else? What else? Let's see. Yeah, and if you are gonna go try to like land a freelance client, and you're trying to figure out what to put on your profile, a really good way to do that is to go to something like data analyst, and with this, you can look for jobs, right? And look at how they describe the job. And then from this, you can craft your own profile. And then at least you know you're speaking in a way that speaks to the people who have jobs for you. So LinkedIn's like definitely a cleaner place to get job descriptions than Upwork. So I might parse a bunch of job descriptions, a bunch of responsibilities, a bunch of things here, and then put that into a profile, put that on Upwork, again, with all the buzzwords and SEO stuff that you want. That's going to help your profile rank higher, so that when people go look for you, like, let's go look for freelancers. And if I go to Tableau, dashboard, design, that's the guy that I give a bunch of work to. He's great. But like, this is also what you could do. You can be like, all right, I want to put a profile on Upwork. These are people who, when I search for the thing that I want to be found for, when people are searching for this term, come up. Let me see what their profiles look like, and then find. Yep, I've connected with her. You can also connect with some of these people on LinkedIn. It's like, I want to chat with her and ask her about her experience on Upwork. Don't be afraid to reach out. So.
We had a question in the chat. So Humaira had asked, is there any opportunities in freelancing for data which deals with machine learning?
Oh yeah, yeah, totally. Like, I didn't have an intern. I had a mentee who she was a machine learning intern with a company in the UK, and she was trying to help them with their algorithm. So machine learning is a very it's a very common thing nowadays. Much more common than it used to be. And people are trying to figure out ways to work it into their products, and some products already have it baked into how that sausage is made, and you can see if they've got an opportunity for you to contribute. So let's see. I know the top one had something about machine learning, mechanical solutions, machine learning experience needed. Yeah, and then there will definitely be meetups wherever you want to go here regarding machine learning. Maybe not in something else. Probably not. No, not here, but groups, learn machine learning, Austin AI. Kaggle's another one. So I know the dude who founded Kaggle. He's a friend. They got bought by Google. He's a big deal. And he's also really cool. So Kaggle, if you want to demonstrate your mastery of data analytics, this is great. So in analytics competitions, you can go on Kaggle, you can learn how to compete, you can practice, you can say, hey, I just did this Kaggle competition, it was a lot of fun, this is what I learned, you can blog about it, if you want to like see what type of problems you can solve with machine learning, you can do the Titanic machine learning or disaster. It's like predicting who's going to survive. That's one there. Heart disease classification. Yeah, this would be fun for y'all too. Tutorials. So it's not all about composition. The first machine learning model. How models work. Like, it's stupid with like all the different avenues you can go in. So I think it's really smart to plan. So like, put a plan together. What's your objective? Why is that your objective? And then from that objective, like, put a plan together. And where there's a gap that you need to fill, it's like, all right, do a little exploration, find out what your alternatives are, ask some people who have come before you and done that, and then, you know, fill that gap. And then once you feel like you have a good path to get to your objective, just put one foot in front of the other and start making it happen.